Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is March the 16th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, 2023 on the Greco-Roman civil calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign living ancient Article 3 Moorish American Al-Moroccan Universal Court action. We are the sovereign living justices. I am Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminutia nolo in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District for Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earth-wide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today we are executing and exercising the law by our sovereign status, which is the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3, living United States District 4 Columbia Court. And we are the sovereign fiduciaries, creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, and titled beneficiaries for this cause for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign ascension. We've issued a universal creditor's bill for possession and custody over all land, all natural resources, all commerce, and all other property. We, the one true God nation, exercise all eternal, ancient, original, sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. Okay, let's see. Just one moment. Okay. And lock the meeting for now. And that way we can go ahead and move forward. Okay. And we will put the meeting in mute mode, and that way anyone who wants to put their wisdom in, feel free to star 6 to unmute Islam. So as trustees, and some may not know this, but we, this Congress, we are the trustees for the vast estate trust called Earth. We hereby issue the following Article 3 Universal 1099-C debt cancellation quo warranto mandamus restitutio minimus to allonge with the Universal Commercial Code 1 lien and levy on the foreign United States corporation company. So we had stated previously in some of our other meetings that we were going to do away with all debt on the land because we really never had any debt on our land. The debt is not our debt. It is corporate debt. And so what we're going to do is issue, and of course this is with your input, and you know, we would love to hear any wisdom, anything that we can change, add, whether we should do this or not. It's up to you all and all of us collectively. but I would like to show you what we've done in the background research on the 1099-C debt cancellation. It's a universal debt cancellation, so all debt at Earth will fall under it and be canceled. And the very first reason that we're doing this is because our land has returned to her ancient customs and usage. And our ancient customs and usage, yes, we will see the document. I'm going to show you from start to finish. You know, I don't do anything without showing the whole thing. And so our ancient land, customs and usage for our land does not include debt. In ancient times, we did not have debt. We had credits coming in and credits going out. Okay, so our exchanging and bartering, whenever there's any barter, for example, we were giving substance for substance, so there was no such thing as debt. And there still isn't. However, having come from the previous era and the enactments and things that were going on there, we just want to put our word on the public record about these types of documents. First, and what we also want to do while we're doing that is add the levy to a universal levy for the foreign dead United States corporation company from the last era. We've already done away with that thing. And now what we're doing is continuing the process of recovering all that we, previously was being fraudulently claimed by the fakes. And so I did a little research on the levy process just to ensure that, as the Internal Revenue, because that's who we are, that we look at this documentation and note that our research has been done and that we're doing the process properly. All property that is exempt from this levy includes all property properly proclaimed, owned or claimed by the original indigenous, ancient sovereign Moorish American creditors from debt to include taxation. So any assessment on our land that was not done by us is a tax. Yes, we do assess a value, not a tax, but a value to our land, and then we accept for value that property. That way we're being competent Moors and using the system that our ancestors wanted us to learn and to know, so that we can competently govern the estate. So before we show the documents, let's put this, we can look together at the levy process. We've already studied the lien process. And now we want to just take a look at the levy process. And we looked at the levy process previously. I wanted to show you a completed lien and levy together, along with the documentation that will go forth and what it will state and so on and so forth. And also for those who are possessing cities, because the possession of all cities, we have put on the public record as well. This will also, we'll show you an example of how we've done that as well. So let's take a look at first the levy process. So according to the Internal Revenue, and again, this was the Internal Revenue Service, we are the Internal Revenue, okay? The difference being one was a service that was requiring somebody to pay it all the time, whereas the Internal Revenue, we're the ones who are stating for the public record that we did not delegate any authority of any kind to any service company or corporation, rather, as we're standing and continuing to govern. So it says a levy is a legal seizure of, and it says your property. We know all property belongs to the heirs, to satisfy a tax debt. Levies are different from liens. A lien is a legal claim against property to secure payment of the tax debt, while a levy actually takes the property to satisfy the tax debt. And that's why we're doing the levy part of this. Yes, we're saying we're canceling all the debt because the debt was not ours in the first place, but we're the only ones who have the authority to cancel it. Debtors cannot cancel their own debt. Only the creditors can cancel the debt and take the property. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. So the Internal Revenue Code authorizes levies to collect delinquent tax. And any one of us who's filed a lien and sent out proper notification, done your court actions, done your default judgments, that is proper authorization and due process in order to then levy the property and take the property, because a lien is a tax also, okay? And only we have the authority to issue taxes, okay? So we're looking at Internal Revenue Code 6331. It says here, any property or right to property that belongs to the taxpayer or on which there is a federal tax lien can be levied unless the IRC exempts the property from levy. And that's another part. All property that has allodial title proclaimed on the public record by the Moors, by those of original indigenous bloodline and birthright, is exempt from levy. Now, does that mean we're leaving everyone else out?
So I guess levies don't work either because you didn't get your Range Rover. Levies don't work either because you didn't get your Range Rover.
Just a moment. Anthropopithecus, quiet, please. And I said please, but you know what I mean. That's a command. It's not a request. So when we're talking about levies, any property or right to property that belongs to the taxpayer or on which there is a federal tax lien, and again, we're the federal, can be levied unless the IRC exempts the property from levy. And so, Moors, it's going to be important for you because, see, the Moors have to be taken care of first. Why? Because the entire estate is dependent on the Moors. And then our courts begin to do the actions regarding any claims by subjects or foreign claims for land and things like that. Our courts handle that. Okay, so we have not forgotten or left anyone out. But we first needed to, it is most important and of top priority for our nation that the heirs be secured in their domicile, okay, or with their domiciles, so that way we can properly go to our courts and issue our rulings and things like that. We are first taking care of our own affairs, okay? So what actions must the Internal Revenue take before a levy can be issued? The Internal Revenue will usually levy only after these 4 requirements are met. The Internal Revenue assessed the tax and sent a notice or demand for payment, a tax bill. Our liens are tax bills. It says here that whoever it is neglected or refused to pay the tax, okay? And acquiescence, silence is acquiescence. Whenever there's not been a rebuttal, a proper rebuttal to the taxes, then that is a neglect or refusal to pay the same. And that's why, Moors, it's important for us, anytime any frauds are trying to push debt off on us, we rebut everything they say. The IRS sent a final notice of intent to levy and notice of right to hearing at least 30 days before the levy. Now, we know that we have sent repeated notices and etc. regarding the debtors, the United States Corporation Company, the debtor, and had them. We did. How many court actions have we done? How many? The Internal Revenue may give them this notice in person, leave it at their home or their usual place of business, or send it to the last known address by certified or registered mail. Return receipt requested. If the IRS levies your state tax refund, you may receive a notice of levy on your state tax refund. Notice of your right to hearing after the levy. The IRS sent you a note and you advance notification of third-party contact notifying you that Internal Revenue may contact third parties regarding the determination or collection of your tax liability. Okay, so we've done these things repeatedly. We have congressional hearings. We have bankruptcy hearings. We've had all types of, we've repeatedly put everything on the public record. I am not yet. Let me do that right now. Thank you, Empress. I did put the link in the chat. Just one moment. So, just one moment. Let me make sure that you all can see what we're. Thank you, Empress. Just one moment. Just a moment. Let me put my boot on really quickly. Okay. Just for a moment here. Okay. So it says here, and this is again regarding levies. What is a levy? And this is from the Internal Revenue Service page. And then, of course, more, because we are the Congress and the government and the law, we can edit these codes however we choose to edit them for our state and our nation. Okay? These are the four things. What actions must the internal, just one moment. It says what actions must the Internal Revenue take before a levy can be issued, and then these are the four requirements. And Morris, we want to make sure that we issue these things this way. We want to we desire to issue final notice of intent. And again, a default judgment is a final notice. Okay? And as you all know, we've issued default judgments regularly regarding our affairs in our estate. So, just one moment. Let me do a little bit more housekeeping here. Okay. And then when will the IRS issue a levy? It says if the taxes are not paid or there's not been arrangements to settle the debt, the IRS determines that a levy is the next appropriate action. Then the IRS may levy any property or right to property owned or claimed or having an interest in. For instance, the IRS could levy property that is yours but is held by someone else, such as wages, retirement, dividend bank accounts, licenses, rental income, account receivables, cash loan value of life insurance, commissions, If if there's someone who's claiming to be a doctor or a lawyer, you can lien the license, all of that. Or we can seize and sell the property that they are claiming or holding. Okay. Now, do we want to just wreak havoc on our land? No, we don't. But everyone will be in alignment with the law on this land, starting with us. We have things that we have to do, that we must do as well on the land to ensure that our levies that we show exemption on the record. Okay, and exemption from levy starts with declaring your nationality. That step alone makes the system stop and say, wait a minute, we have a declaration on the public record of nationality here. That means that the whole record has to be checked to see, okay, is there an allodial title issued for the property? Is there, what else is there issued here for this property? Okay. And in order to secure your property, and this goes for those who are in apartments or condominiums, or if you've claimed a property, you want to make sure that you have the documentation on the public record for that property, and that way that property will be exempt from levy and seizure also. Yes, we are, Empress Chatali. She says, we're not wreaking havoc. We are making all crooked roads straight indeed. Yes, we are. So the first levy that I would like to show you, actually, let's look at 6331, which was referenced there in that first section. Right up here, it referenced Internal Revenue Code 6331. So let's take a look at that code here really quickly. Because it's as I was looking at these codes, it really it really made sense to me why the ancestors said for us to put the 40-something documents on the public record stating that we're the presidents, we're the secretaries of state, state secretaries, we're the governors, we're all of that. Because as we do these processes right here, we needed to know for sure who's speaking and who's speaking to who. Who are we talking to? Who has the authority to do these things? So, authority of secretary. Now, this is levy and distraint, 26 U.S. Code 6331. It says, if any person, and remember, our fiduciary document says that we command all persons. We're the people, and we command all persons, including our own person. If any person liable to pay any tax neglects or refuses to pay the same within 10 days after notice and demand, it shall be lawful for the secretary to collect such tax. Now, here it says the secretary. It doesn't say Secretary of State. It doesn't say any of that. It says secretary. To collect such tax and such further sum as shall be sufficient to cover the expenses of the levy, by levy upon all property and rights to property, except such property as is exempt under section 6334. Okay, and you can read the rest of this. It says belonging to such person or on which there is a lien provided in this chapter for the payment of such tax. So, Moors, listen, this is why our ancestors gave us the lien process first, and then they said, okay, now do the levy process. In order for a property to be taken, seized, there has to be a lien on it first, which is a claim, a proper claim on it. Okay? And once that proper claim is on that property, then comes the levy. Okay? And again, we'll show you both of these processes as we've done them. And you can read the rest of this about who has the authority to do it. Levy may be made upon the salary or wages of any officer, employee, elected official of the United States, District of Columbia, etc. And that goes for any subjects in the office of, okay? There are other seizure and sale of the property. The term levy, as used in this title, includes the power of distraint and seizure by any means. Distraint and seizure by any means. By any means. So, Morris, who've been leaning, here you go. However, Morris, we are peaceful in everything that we do. And once we issue the levy, because we're going to issue some levies, once we issue the levy, that's even a peaceful process also. It starts with just notifying that a levy has been placed on this property. That's it. Just state the word. We don't have to go and confront and fight and go back and forth and battle and all of that. We don't have to do that. Once we state that that property has a lien and a levy on it, that's all we need to do. Do that and then go on about your national business, doing other things, getting ready, getting whatever it is that you need, putting out more affidavits for other things, because the ancestors will do the movement and we will walk through that process. This is what I've seen with liens and levies. Once we send the paperwork, it's like casting a spell on somebody. And then whoever it is that the lien and levy has gone to, in particular, our subjects, they have something inside of them that says, okay, it's time to move out of here because the Moors have properly gone through the processes and used their Article 3 courts to claim and proclaim. We still don't need guns. We still don't need force. We still don't need to argue and go back and forth. We still don't need to do that. All we need to do is send the word, cast the spell, and let the spell be the spell. So I'll say this too, even about the word seizure. Seizure and seizure, same word. If you've seen someone who, and hopefully this doesn't trigger anyone, but I'm just going to make the point. When you've seen someone who has epileptic seizures, there's no particular thing that causes that seizure to happen. It just happens. And so for us, the match to that on the other side is when we say levy, the ancestors do the seizure part. And then they will tell us in our spirit, okay, now you go over and you do the proper inspection point, because they're walking us through these processes. And when we get ready to go to the properties, there's going to be proper law enforcement, and we say real law enforcement, not fake. Okay, so whenever any property or right to property upon which levy has been made by virtue of subsection A is not sufficient to satisfy the claim for the United States, and again, when they say United States, we alter that and put it on the altar and make it proper. We're the living United States. This is written from the perspective of the dead United States. It says, to satisfy the claim of the United States for which levy is made, the Secretary may thereafter, and as often as may be necessary, proceed to levy in like manner upon any other property liable to levy of the person against whom such claim exists, until the amount due from him, together with all expenses, is fully paid. There are other things, requirements of notice before levy, and more. When you do the lien process properly, which is notify them of intent to lien and then lien them, and those two can go together. And then you can do a quo warranto, a writ of discovery, a quo warranto, and then a default judgment. Or you can go straight to default judgment once you've issued the lien and the notification to lien. Okay, and then after that, the levy comes. Now, we will say this, that on the public record, we've notified all corpses and corporations, quote unquote, on the public record that we're liening everyone and we're levying everyone. Okay, and when we say everyone, we mean the corpses, the dead, because they don't have any proper claim. But we have to do the proper processes. So when we're looking at the levy process, Morris, look at it from the perspective of being the one who's issuing the levy, and then look at it from the perspective of making sure that your properties are properly proclaimed. You've got things on the public record. And here's the thing, you can lien your own lien the corporate covering off your property, which should be done. And when you lien the corporate covering off your property, the levies won't affect your property. Okay. So there are some other collection pieces here about the levy, the provisions of this title relating to redemption of property and release of liens on property, etc. You can do the study on these things. Did you know that you can even lien passports and things like that? And that's why we don't really have passports. You cannot lien a national ID card. You can't lien a national ID card, but you can lien a passport. Excuse me, so denial, revocation, or limitation of passports of individuals with such debts. Okay. And then here, continuing levy on salary and wages. The effect of a levy on salary and or wages payable to or received by a taxpayer shall be continuous from the date such levy is first made until such levy is released under Section 6343. And again, you can do the study on these. Here is talking about, if the expenses regarding the levy exceed the amount of the levy or the fair market value of the property, then the levy you don't make the levy on the property. But for us, and this is the beauty, Morris, of what we're doing, because we do our own everything, we have our own courts, we are our own law, there are no exorbitant fees stacking up regarding the levies and the things that we do, because we're competent to do our own work.
98% of your blood, folks, disown you for your fantasy beliefs. So what do you have to say?
Okay. And so, Morris, we want to, just one moment, let me make sure that I have the other part of that out. Okay, and so
if Pauline's levies worked, wouldn't she have that Land Rover in her driveway already?
Just a moment.
And wouldn't she have the possession of the post office on First Avenue? If her
okay, so now, just one moment, Morris.
I guess Pauline's not competent. Levy.
Or a mute button. Okay. So now, this code and we won't go through the whole thing, but we do want to look at payment. Regarding specified payment, any federal payment other than a payment for which eligibility is based on the income or assets of both of a payee, any payment described in these said paragraphs, any annuity or pension payment under these acts, just one moment, continuing levy on certain payments. So look carefully at these things, Moors. And again, this is why we are claiming and proclaiming our status, because nothing that we have coming in can be levied. Unalienable and inalienable is how we remain. Okay? Termination of all corporate contracts ensures that there's no ability for any liens or levies on anything that has to do with us. So let's look now. This is 6331. We want to take a moment and look at 6334. At the exemptions to levy. And this is how you know, Morris, that we are exempt from levy, is you look at the exemption process and say, and just make sure that your property and who you are properly states part. Okay, property exempt from levy. Enumeration. Now, Moore's enumeration is mentioned in the Constitution. Okay, and it's talking about persons. Okay, so there shall enumeration. There shall be exempt from levy. It's talking about things like clothing and things for erudition, school books, fuel, provisions, furniture, etc. This is why whenever someone is evicted, that they generally don't take the furniture. Anyone who takes the furniture is because they feel like the person doesn't know that furniture is exempt from levy, by the way. Books and tools.
And by the way, every time you do that, you're doing exactly as commanded. Oh, you are such a...
Just a moment. One moment. Okay. So, unemployment benefits and undelivered mail, annuity and pension payments, workman's compensation, judgments for support of minor children, minimum exemption for wages and salary, service-connected payments, certain public assistance payments, job training, residences in small deficiency cases. Any real property.
Pauline is not competent. She can't do a levy and get levy means give it to.
Any real property used as a residence by the taxpayer for levy small deficiencies.
Give it to Pauline. Well, nobody gave it.
And then here, the principal residence of the taxpayer only within Section 121, tangible property appraisal. The officer seizing property. Let's stop right there. The officer seizing property.
For doing exactly as commanded.
The officer seizing property, that's the Moors, okay, of the type described shall appraise and set aside to the owner the amount of such property declared to be exempt. If the taxpayer objects at the time of the seizure to the valuation fixed by the officer making the seizure, the Secretary shall summon 3 disinterested individuals who shall make the valuation. Accepted for value, that's what that's talking about there as well. And then you can't, we are not unjust or unfair. We're not going to take property for a $15 something as we continue to govern, No other property exempt, notwithstanding, and this is the part, Morris, this is how you know that you are exempt when you've properly proclaimed your status and put everything on the public record. It says, notwithstanding any other law of the United States. That's enough right there. Article 3 and Article 6 of the Constitution. Okay? No property or rights to property shall be exempt from levy other than the property specifically made exempt by subsection A. Notwithstanding any other law of the United States, okay? So any laws that we make, like the ones we're making now. But again, Moors, in order for us to make the law, we had to come together and unify like we're doing, know that we are the Congress, know that we are doing appropriations and doing things according to the lawful process that our ancestors put in place. And then we can say, okay, this is exempt from levy because this property is properly proclaimed by a Moor, whether that Moor be you or someone else. Okay? This is how you know. That one little statement right there. Because who's the living United States or States United? That's us. Because we know that the dead United States can't even make any laws. They're dead. They can't make laws. Okay? So, just one moment. Let me clear that out as well. So these are actually things that you can use to put with your documentation. Let's see. And then here's another thing, Moors, with regard to the evictions and things that have happened up to now, because Moors, there have been many Moors who've been in that situation, as well as the citizens, the subjects. Many of them are being evicted even now, even as we stand, as we stand and continue to govern. They're being evicted even now. That's what we're hearing. So, this is why it's so important to terminate all corporate contracts. Don't waiver. Terminate all corporate contracts and then put your documentation on the public record. Because, there are some who say, well, I'll do more stuff if I think it's good to do it, but then the rest of the time I'm going to be a citizen over here. Be hot or cold, because if you're lukewarm, okay, and you can look that scripture up in the Biblioheliotheque. That's something our ancestors stated. Be hot or cold. Don't be lukewarm. Don't be in the middle, because that's not going to help you. So, let's see. This is also talking about other exemptions and things like that. Approval required. Levy allowed on principal residences and certain business assets in certain circumstances.
So sorry to interrupt. Could you unlock and let Shasha in, please?
I sure can. Islam. Thank you, Empress. Islam. It's unlocked. Let's see. Now, this is the exception to the rules where anything can be levied. This is exception to the rule. Levy allowed on principal residences and certain business assets in certain circumstances. Approval is required. A principal resident shall not be exempt from levy if a judge or magistrate of a district court of the United States approves.
Can either mute me or boot me. Come on. Be a good little slave bitch. Mute me or boot me. Come on, girl.
Let's see. Empress Nana, did Empress Shasha make it in?
I do believe she did, yes. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Levy allowed on principal residences and certain business assets in certain circumstances. A principal resident shall not be exempt from levy if a judge or magistrate of a district court of the United States approves in writing the levy of such residence. And again, we're the only judges, justices, magistrates. Okay? And when we say that we are the judicial district for Columbia, that judicial district, and this is contrary to popular belief, this judicial district of Washington District for Columbia, first of all, it encompasses the whole of North America. That's number one. Number two, that fake Washington, D.C., the small corporate fake thing that we were looking at last era, was enacting being the true Washington Judicial District for Queen Columbia, Empress Columbia. Okay, so we, Moors, are the only ones who can levy a principal residence. We try not to do that, but if there's unlawful occupation, then it's a wrap. Done. Jurisdiction. The district courts for the United States shall have exclusive jurisdiction to approve a levy under subparagraph A. Again, that's us. We state that at the beginning of all of our calls. We're the ancient district for Columbia courts. Because, and here's the thing, these courts, any courts, all of the courts that we are still consular. So for people who say you can't have a consular court on your own land, what do you think the Supreme Court was doing? Enacting. They were enacting consular jurisdiction. That's why they would handle diversity issues. They didn't call themselves a consular venue, but they were enacting being one. So that we would know when we woke up that, oh, okay, any of our courts, we could call our courts whatever we want to call them, they're still consular. Because no one else, no foreigner, is to be divvying up our land and have us going before them pretending to be something that they're not, or someone that they're not. Okay, so this is why consular jurisdiction is so important. Just one moment. Okay. Certain business assets, property other than a principal residence described shall not be exempt from levy if a district director or assistant district director of the Internal Revenue personally approves in writing the levy of such property. Again, who is the Internal Revenue? We are. We're not the Internal Revenue Service. We're the Internal Revenue, the real one. The Secretary finds that the collection of taxes in jeopardy. So if we see fit in any way that certain business assets, need to be levied, we could do that. An official may not approve a levy unless the official, under subparagraph A, unless the official determines that the taxpayer's other assets subject to collection are insufficient to pay the amount due, together with expenses of the proceedings. And most of the liens that we did, Moors, were for hundreds of millions. It was for a quantum amount. Okay, so when people talk about the quantum financial system, no one has the authority to do a quantum financial system but us. And we do it by virtue of our accounts being so huge and having so many ones and zeros in our accounts. So, and again, we don't want to be we don't want a bunch of homeless people on our land. Everyone is due, just by way of general welfare, should have a domicile. Now, whether that domicile is an apartment or a 10,000 square foot domicile is up to the Moors and the demonstrations that we do. Okay. Let's see. Boy, that's a lot of junk in there in the chat from the subjects, the court jesters. Let me go ahead and use the button here. Okay. You know, they go to great lengths to put that stuff out there. They use a lot of energy and just be typing really quickly and redialing really quickly and things like that. We love them. Let us continue. So now, with regard to this levy process and inflation adjustment, you know, rounding, you can do the study on those parts of levies. But again, Moors, this is why having our own courts and doing our liens by court action was so important. Is that even the liens and levies must be issued by a judge or magistrate. Okay? And that's why we said, all Moors, please put your court action language at the top of all liens and levies. Moors who have had conveyances taken and things like that, that was them enacting a levy. And so all you have to do is levy back properly. Just claiming that you're the heirs is not good enough in terms of the process. Okay? It is good enough in terms of antiquity. But because we're the heirs, we must know these processes. So, you know, I know there are some Moors, even on this call, who've had things taken from them. As we do these processes, Moors, know that we do them peacefully and not as a revenge measure, because if you're having war energy as you're doing the processes won't work. I'm just saying. I'm telling you right now that if you do everything on this list, but you're at war with somebody, it's not going to be effective. Because the energy, the peace energy, is the winner. See, they can fight war energy, but they can't fight peace energy. They don't have weapons for that. They don't have tools for that. And that is the one energy where you win every time. Every time we win when we're at peace with the processes. That is for certain. And I don't mean just being in denial about being at peace. I mean really being at peace because the ancestors know the difference. You can fool me, but you won't be able to fool the ancestors. So please be at peace during these processes. And when true peace has been obtained from within, the processes will work. They will work. Okay? So now let's look at the levy and the liens that we've done. So we looked up the dead United States corporation company, etc., and we found these numbers that they were claiming as account numbers. So what we did was, and you know, we liened them a long time ago. In 2018 was when our lien, the first, the national lien went out. Just one moment. So I looked these numbers up and I said, okay, I'll just lien all of them and levy all of them. And again, when we did the initial lien, it covered all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any derivatives thereof. That means all debtors have been liened. Okay? And then what we do is we make our law specific, because all law is specific. We do a general, national, and international, and universal lien, and then we start getting specific. So here are some of the numbers, 202-5923, and there was some Delaware address. There's a 219-3946. There's a 452-5682 number, and there's a 253-7607 and a 431-1929. Okay, and I wasn't too sure about this one, so I didn't really do one with it, but I just ensured that I stated all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any derivatives thereof. So let's take a look at those levies here. Okay. Yes. So now this is the levy on United States of America Incorporated. Okay, and again, this is after liening and notification and court actions and all of those things. I did, as the creditor, I put the United States for America, which is all of us. We're the creditors to all of this. And then I did put that myself as the bonding fiduciary, but any of you could have put your appellation, your sovereign.
Why is Cynthia still living in a trailer? And, why is Cynthia still living in a trailer then if all these levies?
And so any of you could have put your sovereign appellation.
Cynthia and her adult son out in the cold, Pauline.
Just one moment. Any of you could have put your appellation there as the bonding fiduciary, okay? And that's, again, why we stated to put your the 40-something documents, put them on the public record, and particularly the fiduciary document, which is one of the 6 documents that we recommend and suggest.
Your levies don't work. Your liens don't work. None of your shit works, Paul.
So this is what the tax levy seizure states. As of August 3rd, 2018, we've not received your overdue tax after sending several notices to you. And again, this has been going on since 2018 for us. But there are more who were doing documentation and putting the documentation on the public record long before then. They hadn't done these processes, such as levies and liens, but and also doing it from a congressional perspective. Moors have been doing things, by themselves or things like that, and again, we honor them. We've been looking at what they do, and we see what's been done. We needed to unify, not needed. We desired to unify. Our ancestors desired that we unify, and then put it on the public record together. Okay, and so because it says here, because you have not paid your balance, which is past due, we have levied, seized your property and your rights to property. I think I want to change that to all
You've done exactly as commanded, Pauline. Well done to our faithful servant.
Yes.
Oh, great job, Pauline. Oh.
Okay. We have levied property claimed by you and your rights to property. Okay. Now, as we're writing these things too, Moors, and I have to keep this in mind too as I'm writing when I'm doing documentation like this, that at some point there won't be any foreigners on the land. It's just going to be Moors on the land. There'll be, according to Prophet Noble Jew Ali, there'll be 7 to 8% of foreigners on the land, and no more than 7 or 8% of those on the land will be foreigners, or subjects rather. And so we want to keep that in mind as we're writing these things, because there will be some who still think they're Negro, black, colored, and African American, some will never claim Moorish status, which I hope they do. We're proclaiming that they do go ahead and that everyone will be saved. And so it says here, amount past due, 100 million gold United States dollars or Swiss francs for each Moorish American National Trust pursuant to Universal Commercial Code 1 Lien affidavit dated August 3rd, 2018. Final bankruptcy judgment was issued on August 11, 2022 at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, and we did that it's posted on YouTube as well at Light Tajiri Bay channel. It says here, you are required to do the following actions. It says, due to your inability to pay the stated debt, all property is hereby placed in the possession and custody of and for the original indigenous ancient sovereign people who are the Moorish National Republic federal government, possessing custodians and internal revenue. This congressional affidavit is effective immediately upon all debtors, agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any and all derivative debtors thereof. Moors, it's going to be important that you make sure that you have a allodial title and all on the public record for your property and everything that has to do with you. Okay. And then this is a billing summary. And then we put a few, we put the law on here, 31 United States Code 1501, which states that documentary evidence of entitlement to the property is evidenced by proper recording of the documentation. That's what 31 United States Code subsection 1501 says, that things have to be properly documented in order for us to be entitled to whatever it is that we're documenting. And then a court command required by law has to be placed with an agency, et cetera, et cetera. So these things that are on the screen here, 31 United States Code, we did restate them. Just one moment. Okay. When computers do whatever they want to do. Okay. Here also, it states here, and I just want to mention this briefly, a grant, subsidy, or national program. So when our programs and things are properly recorded and properly issued, it then becomes the law, okay, with proper recording of it, etc. Just one moment. Let me make this a little smaller. That will help with what we're doing. And then we also included Title 12, United States Code 95A, Part B2, which talks about any entitlement or payment made to or for the United States or as otherwise directed by this competent court, that means the Moors, that it is full acquittance and discharge or tendered payment and marked paid in full for all entitlements issued hereby. And then the Constitution for the United States, Article 1, Section 9, states money shall be paid from the Treasury in alignment with national appropriations made by law. Okay? And appropriation, and then this third page is going to be for the stamps and seals. Okay? And so as we are implementing these processes, just one moment. There's try not to be distracted by the stuff that's being put there, Morris. That's actually the goal. They don't really care about what they're saying. They just want to distract you. So don't let them do it. So now the levy document is very simple. It's a simple 3-page document. Page 1 is the reference numbers and things, and I did one of these for each one of those numbers. Okay. This is page 2, and this is page 3, which is stamps and seals, and it doesn't have anything on it yet, but I'll get the stamps and seals put on there. I just wanted to show it first and see if there were any questions, comments, etc. And Morris, please note this mailing location here. This is actually the ancient original indigenous treasury. It's that simple. Okay. And then let me show you the 1099-C debt cancellation. Okay. And again, what are we doing? We're seizing everything and canceling all debt. That's what we're doing. So on this debt cancellation, 1099-C, you'll see here it says $100 million per trust. That's per Moorish American trust that's been put on the public record. And then here's the same debtor's tax identification number, 2193946. In the description, amount past due for levy and seizure, 100 million gold United States dollars and or Swiss francs per Moorish American National Trust pursuant to the Universal Commercial Code 1 Lien dated August 3rd, 2018. Cancellation for all debt in favor for trust credits, property possession and custody to the creditor by command non-protunct. And when we say by command, that means by these processes that we've put on the public record. Okay. And then we put the same thing, 31 United States Code subsection 1501, We put Title 12, United States Code 95A, Part B2, and the Constitution for the United States, Article 1, Section 9. And then same thing, this is just a repeat of the top one for the debtor. So we will send this to the debtors. And this, we're putting it on the public record right now so that all debtors know that this has gone on the public record by the heirs with with this Congress's approval. Are there any questions or comments about about what we've put here on the public record? Just a moment. Islam.
Peace. Islam, I have a question.
Islam.
So I've been learning. I thank you so much for everything you've been sharing, and I've been studying and learning. And so it's my reading that leads me to believe that the 1099A, B, and C, for the purposes of interacting with the IRS, right, that those are informational returns, and then there's an opportunity then to go in with the 1041V and actually redeem the credits, so that's you giving them the actual receipt. So I just want to put it out there. I'm not trying to say I know the exact process for that. I do have a little bit of an idea, but just putting it out there that this is a very powerful step, but then actually also giving them the receipts and receiving the credits, therefore really making the debt go down, actually.
Okay. Empress, thank you so much for that. So let me just one moment. Let's pull that up. You said a 1041Z?
Oh, V as in voucher.
V, okay.
As in voucher. And then what happens is, so you're notifying them of the action you're about to take when you do the 1099 A's and B's and C's. And then it goes along with, the 1096 and there's also an 8888 where you put in the account number that you want the voucher funds to go to, and you do what's called a negative voucher. So it's the 1041V, and then you put in there the negative number for the value of the asset that you've notified them about on the 1099C.
Okay. So let's take a look at that. Thank you so much, Empress. And that is actually the type of input that we need, that we desire in having these.
You desire us to quit coming on here, but you can't command us because it doesn't work. You're incompetent, Polly.
One moment. This is the kind of thing that, just one moment. Just a moment. Let me clear up just a couple of things here. Because this is the kind of thing that, as we continue doing what we're doing, we have the answers among us. Just one moment.
As you continue to fail? As you continue to fail?
Just a moment. We went over the 1041 on our last call. So, Empress, we're looking at the the 1041V process right here. Just one moment. Let me clear this up.
Yes, and so
yes, we went over the 1041. I'm glad you brought this up, the 1041V. Let's see. What is Form 1041V, and do you have to use it? It is a statement you send with a check or money order for any balance due on line 28, tax due of the Estates or Trust 2021, Form 1041. Using Form 1041V allows us to process the payment more accurately and efficiently. We strongly encourage you to use Form 1040V, but there is no penalty if you don't. You may choose to pay any balance due electronically. If you do, you don't need to send in Form 1041V. For more information about electronic payment options, go to IRS, etc. How to fill in Form 1041V. Oh, yes. I see what you're saying. You're saying put a negative balance in there, and it will pay. It will reverse.
Yes, and so right. So they'll send either a Treasury check. Or, because it says too, it says to put the money order, right? So you're creating a money order by either not sending anything with that and then sending an affidavit as to where you would like the Treasury check sent, or you can fill out an 8888 and the monies would be electronic, not the monies, the credits would be electronically deposited into that account. Now, another thing that goes along with that, though, everything must be in good order in that account as far as making sure that there's no anything on the record saying it's a U.S. citizen,
yes,
or anything like that.
It has to be properly proclaimed.
Yes, and then there's more to it, but I think that's just enough right now because I don't want to confuse anyone, and I want to be able to present it in the proper manner. Oh, another thing is when looking at the type of accounts that are available, I think that it would be appropriate to make sure that the International Monetary Fund is given notice as to the plans, because another thing that's available, there is a certain kind of account that is just designed to handle and manage the funds for as like in a custodial manner for bankrupt estates. So if the account is claimed and the number is in alignment with what they know is going to happen with it, that it makes it better and easier for everyone. This is like the relief that they are waiting for, and it's a matter of giving notification and making sure that they're prepared to handle the accounting for the transfer. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful information. It says no checks of $100 million or more are accepted. To help us process the payment, enter the amount on the right side of the check like this. Don't use dashes or lines. For example, don't enter that with a dash after or something with a line. Okay. They're saying don't use dashes. Now, let me just point this out because this is so important. Thank you, Empress, for that.
Yes. Thank you for motivating me to learn and sharing so much that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Empress. We are so helping each other. But more, look at what they're saying there about the dash. Now, they've known all along that the dash made somebody a debtor. They knew that. Now, when she's saying doing a dash for this, that I feel that that's appropriate because it's going to be what we say it is. Let's look at the 8888 form because, again, we're not using their forms. We're restating everything.
Right, and just to clarify, it on whatever form it's done, you have to do it as, the negative number because you're providing a receipt for them. That's what that becomes then. Okay.
Okay. It says here, Form 8888 to directly deposit your refund to one or more accounts at a bank or other financial institutions such as a mutual fund, etc. in the United States. This form can also be used to buy up to $5,000 in paper Series 1 savings bonds with your refund. I am feeling a little more comfortable with with restating this form. And again, Moors, we can't tell you what to do. We just know that, let's take a look here. Allocation of refund, including savings bond purchases. Now, this is a beautiful form here that for us to restate, because again, we would have it say what we want it to say. This is great, Empress. It has places for the routing number and so on and so forth. Amount to be used to buy bonds for yourself. You would like to add a co-owner or beneficiary. Amount to be used to. Yeah, we would restate this. So again, Morris, here it is. I'll put a link to this document as well. Form for restatement. Okay, this is great information, Empress. Thank you so much. Ooh, Morris, you know what? Oh, okay, thank you. Those who put the link, Empress Freedom, thank you. Empress Chief Justice Lord Amun, thank you so much for putting that in there. Chief Justice Amun, you said 8833 form? What is that? What is the 8833 form? Is that something we should be looking at, maybe? Now, Morris, as you're restating these forms, as you're restating them, okay, 8833. Let's take a look at it and see what that form is. Oh, treaty-based return position disclosure. Ooh. Look at this one, Morris. Treaty-based return position disclosure. Taxpayers use this form to make the treaty-based return position disclosure required by Internal Revenue Code Section 6114. Dual resident, and now we would have to definitely restate this form, but this is good. This is great. Because when I think of return position disclosure, yeah, we would be the first ones to restate. Since we're not residents, we're not dual residents and things like that, so we would have to restate the language here. But return position as required by Section 6114. Let's take a look at Section 6114, just out of curiosity. Thank you, Morris, for this awesome information. This is what these congressional assemblies are for us to, come together and decide how we want to do things.
Get that job, get that electronic fiat, and then get out the ghetto. Get that job, get that electronic fiat, get out the ghetto.
Okay. Just one moment. Uh-oh. He changed what he was saying, didn't he, Morris? Now he's saying get it and get out the ghetto. Wow. The court jesters are so funny. Treaty-based return positions. I would like to know what on, let's see, each taxpayer who, with respect to any tax imposed by this title, takes the position that a treaty of the United States overrules or otherwise modifies an internal revenue law of the United States shall disclose such position. To any tax imposed by this title takes the position that a treaty. Okay, what I am seeing here, Morris, is it's saying here each taxpayer who, with respect to any tax imposed by this title, because taxpayer is a title, and we can not accept that title if we don't want to accept that title. It's saying here each taxpayer who accepts the title takes the position that a treaty overrules internal revenue law. And on the return of tax for such tax, or if no return of tax is required to be filed in such form as the Secretary may prescribe. The Secretary may waive the requirements of such, and again, we're the Secretary, Morris, so we get to say, no one gets to speak into our state. We get to decide. It's good to look at these things and see them so that we know that we have many, many, many options and many ways to do things. The Secretary may waive the requirements of subsection A with respect to classes of cases for which the Secretary determines that the waiver will not impede the assessment and collection of tax. Okay.
You know, this is good to know as we're transitioning. But another thing to come up to review is that 8WBEN and 8WBENE for entity, as you know, to review and understand, because I think that those forms, if they are, you know, restated, that they might be more in line with the documentation. This would be like redundant, you see, because when you're filling out or not filling out, but when you're restating the 8WBEN, that stands for beneficial owner. So we're beneficiaries, we're beneficial owners, we're not necessarily taxpayers, you see?
I see what you're saying. I think those are for foreign trusts, though, and we're not foreign. We're actually the IRS, but as we continue to govern, we will know what to do when we see things like that come in from foreigners on our land. But the position that we take when we're looking at these things is both positions where we say, okay, we know we're the Internal Revenue Service. We get to state what happens because this is our state. We're the government. We're the law. But then when foreigners come in, we do need to know that W-8BEN process so that we will know how to judge their case, because we will be judging the cases, the tax cases for foreigners coming, saying that they want to be a part of our state. You know, okay. So it's going to be, you know, incumbent upon us to look at those processes so that we will know how to rule on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that we, you know, some feel that we are, and in a way we are in transition, because not all of us has transitioned already to this new era. The way that we tend to look at things here is that we've already transitioned. We know we're the law, we're the government. So now we're looking at it from a governing position. You know, we're done with from our perspective. But again, there may be some more who feel like, no, I'm still in transition. Okay, we want to keep them in mind too. You know, this Congress takes the position that we're already the Congress, we're already the government, we're already the law, we're governing our vast estate, so let's just do it according to, you know, how we see fit to do it. but we we desire the inputs, Empress, especially the ones that you've been bringing and other Moors have been bringing. That is what this Congress is for, is so that we can say, hey, how do we want to restate these? How do we want to do these things? So I'm just so grateful for the information that you brought to the Congress today, Empress, because this is important. Particularly this document, allocation of refund document, because it actually asks for routing numbers, so we will state the routing numbers for the deposit piece. This is way beneficial, very important. And then of course, we're going to continue to do our due diligence and do our homework and study on these documents as well. And Moors, when we bring documents up, we put it here so that you can do more study on it, do more research and documentation. In the chat, they have to do the bookkeeping for every account. So we also have to know more that when we restate these documents and we send them, we're not speaking to foreigners, we're speaking to our own system. And they will be processed as our own government system because our system is ancient. We've always had our own system. We just needed to know how to, not needed, we desired to know how to address our system. Okay, and the way that we address our system is, for example, with this 8888 form. First, we restate the form, and then it will always say where to send the form in these documents. So let's just find that here, because I know it's going to say something about where to send them. Just a moment. Let me see if it says that here. And this way, you will be sending them to our ancient system and not to a corporate system where, a corporate system might say, oh, this is fraud because it doesn't match our system. Our system says blah, blah, blah. No. Let's see. It should have a place. Direct online. I think it will be wherever you would send. Okay, so this says Department of the Treasury, Internal Revenue Service. So that would be Ogden, Utah for us. And so the way that we would restate this document and send it to the proper place would be, and I just did this the other day, and it went right on through like it was supposed to. But this is how you would note the address. You would say, that's how you would do it. That is the address for our Treasury and Internal Revenue. Okay. System. Okay. And when we speak to our system always does exactly as commanded. No matter how we restate it, no matter what we say about it, if it's in alignment with the law and with appropriations, our system will do exactly as commanded. It's a sovereign system and it's ancient. Okay. With that being stated, are there any other questions, comments, wisdom regarding anything that we have put forth here on the public record?
Islam,
Empress.
So the 1099-C and the levy, those will be available for us to put on the public record, like under the video?
Yes. Yes, they will be. I had to think about that first. Yes, they will be.
All right, very good.
Yes. One last thing, too, that I wanted to bring to your attention more is speaking of courts and speaking of, this is another reason why I'm so grateful for our Grand Sheikh Taj, who really emphasized us having our own courts. We had to have our own courts. Now, that's something we had to do. When we think about mandates, like mask mandates, or the mandate for the land that the Prophet Noble Jew Ali received in 1928 when he went to Havana, Cuba. He received a land mandate. Well, that meant for our courts to be the court that speaks about that land mandate, which is what we've already activated that here on the land. And you can go back and look at our videos at Light Tajiri Bay channel. We've already addressed the land mandate and placed documentation as a government and as a body on the public record. When you talk about the word mandate, because that's what this is on the screen, a mandate is a command, it's a commission to put into one's hand. When the Prophet received the land mandate for North America, that was our go signal. It says here an authoritative order or command, especially a written one. Mandate, and up here it says the Latin is mandatum. Mandatum, mandare, and mandamus are the same word. Okay, and so we call everything that we do a mandamus. Formerly, a commission from the League of Nations to a country called a mandatory to administer some region, colony, etc. But the part that I wanted to bring to your attention more is this part 4, where it says, in law, a mandate is an order from a higher court or official to a lower one. That's all I needed to hear in order to know that I have the absolute authority to state that I don't have to wear a mask if I don't want to wear a mask, or I don't have to do anything that's supposedly mandated by someone who's not an official in our government. A mandate on remission is a mandate from an appellate court to the lower court communicating its decision in a case appealed. In canon law, a papal rescript, rewrite, restate. A mandate in papal canon law, coming from the Moors, who are the only popes at earth, says to restate, rescript something, and then put it out. It says it right here in this dictionary, and this is an 1828 Webster's Unabridged. It says in English law, a bailment of personal property with no consideration. In Roman law, a commission or contract by which a person undertakes to do something for another without recompense, but with indemnity against loss. So we are the only ones who issue mandates that must be obeyed by all lower courts. Everything that we issue is a mandate. Okay? We have the mandate for the land. The mandate that the Prophet Noble Jew Ali received, he received it in writing, and all we did was put it in writing. That's how it's done. Okay? It says to mandate to assign a territory, etc., to a certain government in order that it may be controlled by this government, to administer under a mandate, to supervise, to control. Okay. These 1099-C debt cancellations, these the 888s and all of that, when we restate them, they are mandamus. They are mandates. They are commands. Period. And as long as they are in alignment with the law, then, we do what we do. I see something in the chat. It says, yes, I say my natural person is foreign to the U.S. bankrupt court. Yes, when our terminations of all corporate contracts state that dead thing is not the law for us, that we are separate, we are without that dead United States. Empress Kenya, thank you so much for that. That's beautiful. Islam. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom of any kind from this amazing Congress?
Islam,
Empress.
So they said they didn't take checks of 100,000 or more, but if you sent the check, if you sent them money for 100,000 and they didn't send it back to you, do you assume that it's accepted?
We don't assume that it's accepted. We just this is my suggestion about that. When we see things like that, let's just honor it from our state perspective, not theirs. It's not like they're telling anybody what to do because they're not even real. But when we restate things like that, it is suggested that we say, okay, well, we won't send one higher than 100 million. We'll just send it for 100 million. Is that enough, Empress?
Yeah.
I think we could take a vacation or something with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, that's a suggestion too. It would be a competent suggestion simply because we know that the systems, we know what this is all about. This is about the systems. This is about our vast estate. And it says 100 million. That is the exact amount that each Moore has in their trust.
Okay.
Yeah. Our government put that in place. We did that. The judiciary did it, and the grand body voted it in 2018. Yeah. So we've taken the initiative to do those things because it's important that everyone knows, because everyone has known always that we are the law, we're the government, and that we're also the heirs to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. But we had to come together, be competent, and put it on the public record that way. And as we're doing that, we're seeing where everything that we stated is happening.
Yes, it is. It really is.
Very quickly, I might add. It's only been 3.5 years, a little over 3.5 years since we started, since we reactivated our government from our perspective. Now, we're not taking that away from others who've been doing government work. We're speaking specifically about the Moorish American Consulate and the Moorish American Consular Court. And, of course, our teachers have been doing this work for many, many, many years. We were at the club partying somewhere asleep, didn't know who we were, and they were telling people, hey, you're Moors. Hey, you're Moors. You got a nationality. So we want to honor them. Every step we take, we just want to honor all of those who've been doing this work. Empress, yourself included.
Okay, just one more comment.
Uh-huh.
When you send out those the mandamuses or whatever it is you're sending out to them, I consider 10 days being, a proper time for them to answer. Is that feasible?
I agree, Empress. It's whatever we agree on. Does everyone on this call agree that 10 days is enough time to get a response back or to have our commands honored? I do.
Yes.
I agree. Islam.
Yes.
All right.
Set in the chat 3609.
It's let's see.
7 days.
10 working days.
Yeah, 10 working days. 10 working days.
Okay.
Do we have any other? I think 10 is and Morris, we have to remember, what if we were on the receiving end of that? We would want a little time to put things together and get it into the system at least. So.
Islam, 10 calendar days?
Well, what do you think, Morris? I would say 10 working days.
10 working days, I think is good.
Yeah, 10 working days. Because if it's 10 calendar days, it's really just 1 week and 2 or 3 days, 1 week and 2 or 3 days. So 10 working days. We have several witnesses in the chat as well on the 10 working days. So it's whatever we agree to. Do we have a majority who agrees to 10 working days?
I agree with that.
Islam, yay.
Islam.
Islam, yay.
Islam. Islam, yay.
Islam, yay.
Islam.
Islam,
You know what?
Yes.
Thank you. Islam, yay. I agree as well.
Islam.
Yay.
Islam, yay.
Islam.
Justice Malik Kilbag, yay.
Islam, yay.
Islam, yay.
Islam.
Islam, this is Karima Bay of Virginia. I just have to say this because last night I was putting together an affidavit to send out to one of the custodians, and in the affidavit it says you have 10 days to provide documentation for all custodians. So that was put in my affidavit, and here we are talking about this today. This was just last night. I have the date on here.
Yeah.
Right now, so I just had to say it. Islam, 10 days.
Empress, the spirit just tuned in. You just tuned in to the spirit.
We really did tune into each other because I needed this seminar today specifically.
Yes, indeed, indeed. You know what, Empresses? Our ancestors just wanted us to come together and agree on some things instead of disagreeing on everything. They wanted us to just agree, and they would do the rest. They're doing it. It's all done. They're doing it. So
Islam.
Yeah. Islam, Empress.
Dasha Ambi, Jamaica. I just wanted to say I look forward to watching the rerun because the time didn't change here, and I guess the time changed. Did the time change?
Yeah, there was a daylight savings time this past.
Yeah, and we don't do that here, you see. And so I was busy, preparing for 7 o'clock. So I missed the beginning. But anyway, I just wanted to say that, just share why I was not in earlier. And I look forward to catching up.
Now that I think about it, Empress, time could have not changed here or changed. We just look at digital clocks, and they were all changed. So it didn't even register, really, that there was a change. But there was, because my consort brought it up. Okay. But I would not have known unless I was I've just been looking at digital clocks.
And that's really where I was.
Yeah.
So all is well.
Yeah, indeed, Islam.
Well, Islam.
That's interesting because it's bringing up a few other things for me. That if someone changed all the digital clocks to say that it's 3 hours later than it is, we would just be like, okay, it's 3 hours later than it is.
Isn't that the truth?
And we would have time traveled and not known it.
That's exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Islam, actually, we have the power to legislate that daylight savings time be, null and void, because there are, states, that have done away with that, and they just decided to stay on just one, streamline of, time. Mm-hmm. So we can address that at any point in time to state that, daylight savings time, the spring ahead will remain forever into perpetuity, and we won't fall back anymore.
Moors in just everyone, please hear me, because what you just said, Empress Angel and Empress Shasha, it brings to mind something that the ancestors put on my heart about 2 or 3 years ago, and that was, they said that when we go back to universal time, we will be on the same timeline as they are on. So just look up the universal time clock, and we'll just talk about it and think it through and talk it through over time. But just look into universal time, because that's a time that doesn't change earth-wide. And everybody that's on the universal clock, the whole earth is on the same clock.
Yes.
So,
peace. And along with what you're saying, what came up for me this week, this week, is that I was speaking with an Igbo man. He grew up in Nigeria, and he said, yes, we're the people of, the bibliothèque, and we kept all the feast days. He said, but we had a 4-day week. And so I've been researching it. And it's a lot of people who are unifying and teaching how to follow the 4-day week, which is more indigenous to our roots. We know the Gregorian calendar is part of what was given to us with the religions that separate us as a people. And so returning back, we already follow the moon to know when to fast or when to start a feast day or end a feast day. And the 4-day cycle is in line with that, because on the first day, it's a day of rest, and the goddesses in the spirit world, in and out of us, they do what they do. We set our intention on the first day. And then on the, depending on the day that you were born, has to do with the day that you go to market, the second, third, and fourth day. Just look up the Igbo calendar, and it's amazing. And I just feel like a sense of, I just thought to share it because it came up tonight. So I don't claim to have all the answers, but it seems like a lot of us are having that impression and understanding about time and unifying and coming into agreement, because the energy is shifting, and that is the energy of femininity with the moon calendar.
Wow. You know what that means? When we agree on something like the clock or the changing of times or the week being, and I certainly do not want to call it a week. I want to call it a strong or a strength or a something other than a week. But that's a different story. But my point being that when we do that, and then we change and decide that, okay, I'm going to go to market and do commerce, we would be time jumping then, because we would use the civil, Greco-Roman civil calendar for commerce, because commerce is earth-wide also on that one calendar. And then when we are not doing commerce, we're on our own timeline, our own calendar, and everything. And also, universal commerce is done on the universal time clock too. So if we wanted to do commerce across the ice wall over to the other side of Antarctica or the Arctic, because there are Moors over there, then we would switch to universal time, and then we could meet with them at the universal time on a specific time. Yes, Empress Sasha says we are always time traveling. Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Something tells me that thing is going to shift anyway. You know. Very beautiful. I just have a really, something in my spirit is saying that when we do agree on the time and the calendar and all of that, that the dimensions are just going to switch. They're just going to change. The dimensions are going to change. I know they are.
Islam, I concur, because the ones who were created that, they didn't create, the ones that, you know, found their way in that system, and so they had to, you know, seemingly make a system for them to function. They'll lose their time and space in a system that is not, you know, conducive to them anymore. So it will be like they will, you know, shimmer out of reality, so to speak, to catch my drift. And so
something like that. You know what? Because the last era was that wasn't a normal dimension.
Exactly. So I can see that, you know, they won't be able to keep up. Yeah. They won't be able to compute, you know, fathom, and they will be finite things trying to comprehend infinite things, and that would automatically, you know, spontaneously combust for them, essentially.
Islam. Indeed. I wanted to just bring up one last something that. Okay. Well, that is all we have at this time. We will adjourn, and more just what will happen if we all decide, like when we all decide to change the times and the seasons, because that's in the Biblios, the changing of the laws and the times and the seasons. When we do that together, that means we're going to time travel together. I'm looking forward to that. So we're already traveling together as it is on our own land now. So I'm loving that. With that being stated, peace and grand rising. We will adjourn and meet again on Sunday at 6 p.m. Empress Kenya, thank you so much for the information. Beautiful presentments as well. And to all, peace and grand rising. Islam.
Islam, peace and grand rising.
Peace and grand rising. Peace and grand rising, Lord.
Peace and grand rising.
Prosperity, silly Negroes. Goodbye, silly Negroes. Fuck off, silly Negroes. None of your shit works, Pauline. None of your shit works, Pauline.
Grand rising.
Much love. Much love.
Bye, Negro man.
Love, and energy, peace and unity.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. And we will adjourn.
Pauline, your levies didn't get you no Land Rover, Pauline. Your levy didn't get you that Land Rover, did it, Pauline?
Yes.
What happened?
Coach, just the listeners are coming up on the air right now.
Islam. Yeah. Peace and grand rising, Islam. We will adjourn in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.